What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today we've got even more Destiny 2 news to talk about. And as I've said, E3 released a massive amount of info from all the interviews and shows with the Bungie employees, so there's lots of scattered information all over the internet. So as usual, I'll be rounding up all the bits and discussing them with you guys. Also, don't forget the Control Freak are giving me the new Xbox One X console, or the Scorpio, to give away to one of you guys, so the link is in the description. It's pretty simple stuff, just follow us on Instagram and Twitter. But the competition ends soon, so make sure you enter, and of course one of you is going to be winning the Xbox One X. So firstly, let's talk about something pretty interesting that Luke Smith said in an interview with Kotaku, and that is that the darkness has more or less been phased out of Destiny 2's story, which sounds very kind of crazy at first, but actually does make a lot of sense. So to quote him, he said, "At a point we just totally candidly had no idea what the darkness was. Straight up, we had no clue. We didn't know what it was for a period. We thought we were going to lump all the races together into the minions of the darkness, and we had taken the races and said that's just going to be the darkness, but that's not what the IP deserves. So what we're doing with Destiny 2 is we're deliberately telling a story about the light and what it means to be chosen, and as such we're in the process of removing the term the darkness from the game, because when we're going to talk about the darkness, which is next, we need to make sure we have a plan for it, and we do." So at first it does sound a little bit crazy for them to phase out the darkness, especially seeing as they literally are the main enemy and the main point of Destiny 1, but in reality they're just putting it on hold, and the darkness is going to come into play in a future game, which is also what Luke Smith told PC Gamer in a different interview. He said the Cabal and their story is for Destiny 2, and the darkness is a whole different thing they're going to explore. So Bungie are basically admitting their initial idea for the story was kind of bad. It was literally the 4 races and that's just it, but as Luke Smith said, Destiny deserves a better story, so they decided to make Destiny 2 just about Cabal and the light, and then in a future game they're going to tell the story about the darkness because they do have a plan for it. So I don't think it's too much reason to panic. It is a little bit strange, but I think it's better overall because you get a good story in Destiny 2, and then in future games you're going to get the story of the darkness properly. So next up, we're going to be going through all the info that came out from IGN's interview with Deej during E3, and this is all from the Bungie Informer Twitter account. They did an amazing job keeping on top of everything that's happened with E3, so definitely worth following them on Twitter, and I'll be going through their summary essentially. So the first thing I thought was interesting is that they implied in the interview that you'll rarely be able to buy a weapon directly from a vendor. Instead, you'll get them from rank up packages, but the majority of your loot now comes to the world as opposed to just buying weapons from vendors. So you're going to be seeing a lot less just going to the tower or the farm even and just buying stuff from vendors. Instead, all the stuff is going to come from the world and essentially through the Cryptarch with those engrams. Now, as a side note, Luke Smith also said in a different interview they aren't going to have purple engrams decrypt into blues like the launch of Destiny 1. That's definitely good news. At least the engrams are definitely in a good state and not like the original vanilla of Destiny 1. They also said that there will be story quests that lead to certain exotics, but as I covered in a recent video, most will be from engrams and they're going to be similar to Destiny 1, but of course they're still going to have those exotics that are tied to quests, and you know you have a certain path to get them. But Bungie said, for example, the Sunshot hand cannon, that comes from engrams, not a quest. So they also said that you can invite people to your clan straight from the in-game, so you don't have to go to Bungie.net, which is pretty cool. Also that everyone gets the exact same story regardless of class. Now this is pretty interesting because it was quite a big rumour. A lot of people, I guess, speculated and hoped that you might have 3 different stories, so you might follow through Zavala on Titan, or Core Array on Io, or Cade on Nessus, and you might have a different story arc depending on which class you're playing, but that is actually not true. Everyone is going to get the same story, so it doesn't matter what class you're playing as, everyone is going to go and interact with those Vanguard leaders the same time. So Deej also said that there is going to be some kind of visual ways to let others know that you are a veteran, so you've played Destiny 1 essentially. Now we don't know exactly what these are going to be. It could be something simple like an emblem, or it could be something really cool like a blue flame around your head, or some kind of visual glowing effect, which would be really, really cool. But of course, Bungie said in the past they are going to be awarding veteran players with some kind of items, but as for now they're just keeping it vague on exactly what those are going to be. They also said they're still tuning the heavy or the power ammo drop, so if you see it drop in videos and you think it might be a bit slow or a bit fast, essentially it's still being tweaked exactly how much it drops, and especially how much ammo it gives you as well. So I noticed myself personally in PvE it doesn't seem to drop, I don't think, enough. It seems quite rare, and especially for a sniper rifle, if you're trying to get sniper ammo, it's quite difficult to come by. Maybe I just got unlucky, but it seems to only drop when you kill like a major or like a named yellow boss. It seemed not really on the common side, so I'm kind of hoping they bump it up a little bit. But like they said, they're still tuning it and fixing how exactly they want it to drop. So the next thing is probably not good news for most people, but this is that Rumble will not be returning in Destiny 2. Every single mode is 4v4, and also by that we can assume there probably isn't going to be any 6v6 modes either, which to me honestly is a bit disappointing. I mean, the main thing I'm thinking of is what happens when you finish a raid, you're with 6 people and you want to go play Crucible. You have to split up into 2 groups, like a group of 4 and a group of 2, or 2 groups of 3, and you have to matchmake for the extra 4th person on both teams. It just doesn't really make too much sense why they're splitting into 4, and I feel like there should be at at least one playlist 6v6, just so you can hop in with your entire clan, because clans are such a big thing of Destiny. So I really do wish there was at least one 6v6 game mode, but there's definitely not going to be Rumble, so no solo free-for-all, and also no 6v6 mode, because everything is now 4v4. So the next thing is that the radar has been changed a little bit, as we know, but now we've got some details on it. So the radar has a set distance to pick people up, which is shorter than Destiny 1, which you can definitely notice when you play. The radar is nowhere near as far as it used to be, and also there's no levels, in case you didn't notice either. In Destiny 1 there's a little kind of outer perimeter which shows if they're up and below you, and they're kind of hollowed out a little bit. In Destiny 2 it's just one block, so you can't tell if they're above or below you. It just kind of is very vague, and it's not as descriptive as Destiny 1, so it's kind of not as a crutch anymore, so you can't just know where everyone is, but it's definitely going to be a lot less information coming to you. And also that crouching will still pulse on the radar, but even slower and less frequently than Destiny 1, and also that you can't peek with scopes. I used to do that a lot, and it's a good tactic to be able to keep your eyes on the radar and also what's in front of you, but that's basically gone in Destiny 2. Once you aim down sight, there's a little bit of a delay, so you can't do the quick peek thing like you used to be able to do. And the final thing is that Crucible maps are now designed for specific modes. So Midtown, for example, was built from the ground up for Countdown, which you can definitely tell because the mode Countdown does play perfectly on Midtown, and it feels like it is literally made for it. So it turns out it actually is, and certain maps are going to be made for certain game modes in mind. I'm hoping there are definitely enough maps, because we've seen in Destiny 1 when you play a mode in a map that definitely doesn't really work. Like Control on Midtown probably wouldn't be too great, but Countdown is of course perfect. Whereas I feel like playing Control on Midtown probably wouldn't work as much, seeing as it's so narrow and there's so many lanes. But every map is going to be perfectly attuned for game mode, so we'll have to see how that works out, and hopefully there's enough variety in the maps. So that has been a roundup of a bunch of info coming from Fireteam Chat and various different interviews from Destiny 2 at E3. As always, a like rating on the video would be much appreciated. Don't forget to enter that giveaway in the description for an Xbox One X or the Scorpio. Be sure to subscribe for a bunch more Destiny 2 videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.